All right, everybody, I'm back here again. This time I'm going to be doing a little something with the bass guitar for you all. Let me tune up here really quick first.
When you play along with what I'm doing, it'll sound somewhat normal. Now you can see I'm playing a Cala ukulele bass, which I bought my wife about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe. I'm not sure. It might be longer than that. It's kind of like the equivalent of Homer Simpson buying Marge a bowling ball for her birthday, but because I actually wanted this bass, but I bought it for her. And it's kind of a cool little setup. I'm tuning it right now with the tuner that's in front of me. And it's plugged in, so I mean, as you can hear, it sounds a lot like a normal regular bass. Let me turn the treble down a little bit because it tends to cloud it up a little bit. Kind of a cool little sounding instrument, and it's actually you can use it to play gigs and things. So
I'm going to demonstrate a few things on the bass. Now, remember, I'm a guitarist, but I know a couple things about bass guitar. But a couple that I think can take someone who's looking to get better at playing the bass a little bit farther. So, Miles, you may want to add to this video or something at this point because you are a much better bass player than me. But for our beginners and people that are trying to learn some new licks and stuff, this might be helpful. So we're going to start off by basically explaining a little bit about the way the fingerboard is arranged on a bass guitar, and a guitar also, but on a bass in particular. And our strings are obviously arranged low to high on the bass, with the low E, the A, the D, and the E. And what I'm going to talk about is this little shape that exists in the bass. Now, this is a G note on the 3rd fret of your bass. I mean, a lot of you may already know that, but I want to explain that for you. That note is a G. Now, if you move and think about it like 2 plus 2, we're going to move over 2 strings and up 2 frets, and you get another G. It's called an octave. They're the same note. One note just vibrates twice as quickly as the other. It's an interesting fact about physics is when you shorten the length of a string by half, you get an octave. If I move up to here, you get the same note that I get there. That's 12 notes higher. It's an octave. Now, in between that note, now just for bass players, you can get a lot of mileage just out of knowing those 2 notes. Playing those 2 notes. Really, just G and G back and forth. Now, you can also think about these as root notes. So this is someone playing a G chord on the guitar, and this note on the 8th fret of your low string is a C, and its octave, same place, 2 and 2. Back to the 3rd fret. And but the nice thing is you don't have to move up the fingerboard to do that. Right next, on the next string over, on the A string 3rd fret, is a C note also. Same rules apply. 2 and 2. 2 frets up, 2 strings over. That's using octaves to play the bass. Right? A very, very, very simple way to improve your bass playing. I'm going to take a pause in this for a minute. I want you to practice it. Before I pause, I'm actually going to play, since a lot of songs are in G, D, C, and E minor are the chords, because those are the chords for the key of G. I'm going to play the octaves for you, demonstrate them on in each position. So here is the G, 3rd fret, 2 and 2. C, 3rd fret on the A string, 2 and 2. For D, 5th fret on that string, 2 and 2. And then E minor is a pretty popular chord in that song. You might want to go to the 7th fret of your A string and do 2 and 2, or your low E string, which is kind of nice to have that low sound. That's what the bass is there for, right? So same rule applies. Up 2 notes and over 2 strings. So G, C, D, E, or E. We're just going to add a little something to the shape, okay? So when we were playing G earlier, we were playing G and G. There's another note in that whole paradigm called the fifth. And every note except for the B in the key of C, except for the seventh tone, that's probably a little more explanation than you need. Pretty much every root note has what's called a perfect fifth. Now the nice thing is remember when the octave was 2 and 2? Well, in this case, it's 2 and 1. It's right next to the 2 frets up, 1 string over. That note is a D. It's 5 notes above a G note. And you'll hear a lot of bass lines do things like this. That's the root fifth, root fifth. Now when I go to the C note, the same thing. C is here. Root fifth, D, fifth, D, fifth, root fifth, C, 5, G, 5, G, 5. You can play some pretty funky little bass lines by going. Just using the root and fifth, okay? You can add the octave to that if you like, too. You could do. Just a real simple little way to add a little more color to your bass playing. Now, when you go up to the C note, same rules: root, fifth, octave. But right over here, if you're on this string, you actually have a fifth here also. So this note is a G. The 5 of the fifth note of the octave of the G note is the same as the 5 of the C. So that logic would tell you that you also have a fifth here. So you can hear bass players do this sometime. So it's actually, the fifth is on the lower side of the note. It's slightly more complicated, but it's fairly simple too if you practice it. Now I'm going to take a pause here really quick. Having showed you the octaves, let me do that. Let me show you the fifth in all of those, okay, really quick. The G, the D, C, and the E minor. And the fifth, G and the 5, the C and the 5, the D and the 5, E minor and 5, 7th fret and 9th fret. And then you can also do the E if you wanted to on open E and B right there. Another fairly simple way to dial up your bass playing. Let me show you a little example maybe of playing through those 5 chords. G, D, E minor, C, G. Okay, adding the octave. Okay, the next step to this whole piecing all these little parts of being a guitar player and applying them to the bass, not perfectly, but as good as we possibly can. I'm going to add the note that's called the third of the chord. So when you play a G major chord, I wish I had a guitar handy, I would do that. You're playing G, B, D, G. That's a chord. It's a really high. There's probably no way to do this to make it sound real. Right. So that's the third of the chord. G, A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how we get to the fifth. That's how we determine where those notes are. That's a major third in that chord. That is, basically that's one string over and down 1 this time. So over 1, down 1, over 1 string, down 1 fret. And there's your octave, or your fifth right there. I use that B to get to the C chord. Now the same rules apply. There's your third and there's your fifth. So you could do things like just using those notes. I'm going to put some tablatures together with a lot of these examples of how these things work in a few minutes, and I'll try to get it uploaded to the website for you bass players, okay? Now we're going to do the same thing over a minor chord now, because a minor chord is the same as a major chord with a lowered third is all they are, right? Now when we get to the minor aspect of playing the bass, I tend to use sort of a pentatonic scale to pull off minor bass riffs. I don't know if I'm cheating or what's going on, but you know, when I have to play the bass, I end up playing stuff that sounds reasonably okay. Probably laughable to a bass player, but I mean, it gets me by. So there's your minor third, major third. So we're going 1 over and 2 down to get to the minor third. Now this becomes a bit of a stretch for us. I mean, that note also exists 3 frets up on your bass. So the same note is here. I like to use this shape, minor third. So I'm using the root, the minor third, using a note that I probably shouldn't be using in there because I'm not explaining that very well. That's in the scale but not in the chord. Root, third, fifth, root. Root, third, fifth, root. I'm looking at this on the screen and it's backwards in my eyes, so it's a little hard for me to do. I bet you I'll get better at this. We'll see. Minor chord, major chord, minor chord. And that applies to all of the shapes again. So once you're on a root note, all these things just transfer to the next. Okay, hopefully I've successfully edited out that ham-fisted attempt at playing over a minor thing, but I'm going to try a little bit better one now. Using the minors. Majors, it's a little easier. Now, another real cool thing to do is you can connect chords together through the third of the chord. So when we play the third, the major third especially, the next note up is a C. So connecting through that third. It's another way that bass players can use. And so I would recommend maybe now trying to go through, pick out a song. Now obviously if you look at the chords in a song, the roots are going to be in different places, and you're going to have to move your shapes around to make them match the key that you're in. So like say for example, if that's G, A is right there. B is right there, right? C is right here, D is right here, E is right here. I'll provide a chart for you on the website, on AMP's website, so you can access the things on your bass a little better. This is the best explanation I can give to you as to how I manage as a bass player. I don't get asked to do that very often, obviously, but when I do, I mean, I've got a couple little tools that I use to get me by. I would recommend listening to some great basses like Victor Wooten, or I think Nathan Watts, the man who plays with Stevie Wonder, he's my favorite bass player. There's some other really great players out there that just kill it. Yeah, good luck, and any questions, once again, we're always here for you. Bye.